So Friday, I tried talking about Marvel and them publishing hatred, and you know what I got for it? Censorship. Yeah, the platform, they don't seem to like the word that Marvel is actually using. See, Marvel has decided to push the term Latinx, despite recent polling noting that just 2% of Hispanics actually use the term, and over 40% that were surveyed, they found the term offensive. Now, Marvel, they have faced quite a bit of blowback to this, too, and you know what they do? They double down, they triple down, and they regret it. Now, you and I, we're going to look at this comic and this controversy today, and remember, these folks, they don't care about identity. They care about identity, making them dollar signs. I mean, yeah, that's it. It's plenty. Fun times, huh? Fun times indeed. So hey there to all you fine folks on this fine day, by the way. I hope you are doing excellently. And just to showcase the blowback that this stuff it gets, here's a post by Marvel Entertainment. Celebrate the mighty Latin and Latinx characters and creators from across the Marvel universe with Marvel's voices. So you have that comic book we're talking about, #1. Now, right from go, look at the blowback. This is what the comment section looks like. Latinx, please do not use Anglo-centric colonialist language against my native tongue. This is extremely offensive to Latinos and Latinas. Here's another person right under. Latinx is a term made by white people. Stop using it. It's offensive. And that's pretty much 80% of the comment section telling Marvel, hey, you need to stop all of this. You know why? Because it's absolutely offensive. Now, that being offensive is not just limited to Twitter, by the way. We've seen some huge polls come up recently. This is from Politico.com. Which of the following terms comes closest to describing your ethnic background? You can see how people describe themselves, with only 2% of those surveyed actually saying, hey, I use this term. I use Latinx. That's how I identify myself. Now, on the other side of that, on the offensive side, this question was asked. Does the use of the term Latinx to describe Hispanic or Latina or Latino community bother or offend you? And if you look at this here, 40% of Hispanic voters, they said yes, this actually offends them, with 20% saying yes, this offends me quite a bit, 11% falling on the midline, and 9% saying, yeah, that bothers me a little bit here. Now, with results like that, you might think that Marvel would stop and reflect, because, hey, there's a lot of blowback and controversy. But no, Marvel decides they're going to double and triple down. They decide they're going to use this comic book here, Marvel Voices #1, as a soapbox, and they want you to pay $4.99 plus tax for the luxury of them giving you a lecture. Now, this, by the way, is what passes for entertainment within the comic book industry. You start out, hey, are these signs yours? You have an answer? Yeah, thank you so much. I was headed to the Immigrants' Right rally at City Hall. Before I ran into this, I'm terrible, I butcher words, so I'm not going there. A rally, huh? What do you say, Spider-Girl? You down for a midday demonstration? I thought you'd never ask. Props to Bounding Into Comics, by the way, for capturing all this. Now, you can already feel the lecture coming into play, and well, here's where the term Latinx comes in. Hey, Anya, what does this mean, Latinx? I've heard the term thrown around lately, but I've never had the opportunity to really ask about it. So we're going to have our lecture on that word. Awesome, again, $5 cover prize. So here comes your lecture. Latinx is a more inclusive way to refer to people rather than Latino or Latina. Inclusive, huh? Well, what's wrong with Latino or Latina? Weren't those working just fine until now? Well, the thing about Latinx is it's all-encompassing term. It doesn't assume anyone's gender the way that Spanish usually does. Latina may be working just fine for people like us who identify as female, but for those who are gender non-conforming or identifying as non-binary or gender fluid, the forced gendering of Latino or Latina Latina can be really tricky to deal with. Now, the action, and this is what passes for action in Marvel Comics these days, oh, it doesn't stop there. Nope, not by a long shot. She said she wanted me to do it, Orita, but then got annoyed with me for not doing it right away, because to us that means later, but to her it means right now. Oh God, that situation was a bit of a mess. So maybe language should be adapted when it muddies up something as important as someone's personal identity. And the fun, and you better be calling this fun or you're a bigot, it doesn't stop there. Yeah, and before Latino, they just called us Hispanic, which never felt quite right for me personally either. But on the other hand, I know a lot of people who still prefer the term Hispanic. I think it's just about figuring out what works best for you and respecting what works best for other people. Right, Anya? Yep, that's pretty much what I'm getting at. One more question, okay? Does Latinx, does that even translate to Spanish? The person asking says, because that's probably a pretty important part of all of this. And they're told, of course it does, of course. The term was actually developed by the LGBTQ plus people in Latin America, so it definitely translates. That, by the way, there's a lot of controversy about that statement too. But Latin is another inclusive alternative that's been gaining steam lately, though Latinx is still the most accepted term at the moment. But you ultimately should just use whatever term you feel more comfortable for you and those around you. It's not a huge deal. And here's your conclusion. $5 well spent, right? Now, I posted about this, by the way, and one of the interesting things that I saw in feedback, again, that Marvel has decided to blatantly ignore, is that people, they're not just saying that they are bothered by this. Many people actually see this as a type of slur. Now, what's fascinating to me is that word there, slur. It comes up over and over again as a descriptor. You can see it right here, for example, considering I know more people who think that's a slur than those who support it as a progressive term. Yeah, this is going to be fun. Yep, that's repeated over and over again. Latinx, it should be considered a slur, and so they most likely lost another demographic because of using a derogatory term, with some people even going as far as to say, we consider that term there basically our form of a certain word that, well, if you use that with African Americans, yeah, it wouldn't fly at all. Like the term or not, too, here's something about Marvel I want you to consider. If any other demographic came out and they said, hey, you are using a slur to describe us, would you stop doing that? Do you think that they would continue? Absolutely not. They would have somebody out there apologizing for it now, but because of the politicking, because of the pandering, they've decided to set that aside. They decided that it's A-okay, and yeah, I'm saying that maybe, just maybe, that'll actually not just show up in the blowback, but it'll show up in the profits too. But anyway, let me know what you think about this stuff. And as always, thank you for listening. I appreciate the heck out of you. You being here, that makes that work. Want to help out the channel? Links in the description. Also, make sure you sub. You know that drill too. But you being here, that matters most of all. So thank you. Appreciate you. See you soon.